I'm Chris Hicks from 444 Woodward Court, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45255. Before I start reading what I already gave you that I'm going to read, one of the issues I think with rushing the citizens along is that you only have one meeting a month instead of two meetings that you used to have. I think it's essential that this board goes back to 2 meetings a month to allow both for more citizen input, not to rush people along, and to allow follow-up in a timely fashion. Once a month is not enough. Okay, now I'm going to read the remarks that I'm going to read. Mr. Logue, last night at the Chamber $50 reception to meet your elected officials, I sought to ask you a question about Law Director Brodi Conover, which I believe is sitting right there. I had provided the question in advance. We did not talk there. I'm going to ask my question to you now in public participation. I'm reminded of your public participation on October 24th, 2019, when you stood here at this podium and asked questions to trustees for 20 minutes. They tried to answer your questions and they allowed you to have follow-ups. You and Brodi Conover, the new Union Township Law Director, seem to have gone to Lebanon High School together for 1 year. What was your pre-existing relationship with Brodi Conover before he and his firm was hired by Union Township as Law Director without any open request for proposal process or any competitive bids? And why are you paying him $265 per hour when the cap you all approved in January was $199 per hour for a law advisor for Union Township? Further, Mr. Conover submitted a law director proposal on or about December 22nd, 2021. When I asked for records of him being asked for a proposal or for the submission of a proposal, I was told no records exist. So who solicited the proposal? When? What non-public discussions took place? Further, Ms. Ayres communicated to me that Brodi's proposal was delivered to trustees in person. When did that take place? Was it a group meeting or was it individually? Finally, you have stated that Mr. Barbier, the former law director, has a conflict of interest serving Union Township. If so, why is he being retained and paid in addition to Brodi Conover? I realize that I've asked a few questions. That is why I emailed what I am now reading to you in advance and provided you a copy on your desk. If you don't mind, I'd like to stand here to hear your answers and be allowed to ask any follow-up questions. That's what you did on October 24th, 2019.
The information regarding the hiring of the law director has been made available to you via special records and/or occurring in open public meetings. Does that conclude your remarks?
You've not answered pretty much any of the questions I had about why there was no competitive bid, why there was no RFP, why we're paying $265 per hour for a law director when you yourself voted that the cap would be $199 in January. You have not told me about how that proposal was delivered to you. You have not told any of us about any meetings that took place around that proposal that none of us were privy to. Would you care to address any of those things, Mr. Logue, or do you continue to want to hide on this issue?
Excuse me. The information regarding the hiring of the law director has been made available to you via special records requests and/or an open public meeting. We have your comment. Thank you for your public participation. Does that conclude your remarks?
No, I want to continue to ask you about how, for example, that was delivered. What you keep referring to is a record request that was responded to me as there are no physical records. Just out of the air, a proposal from Brodi Conover dropped into your lap on or about December 22nd, and he managed to get hired as law director at about 50% more than the hourly cap that you yourself voted to approve without any competitive bidding or even any RFP whatsoever. I'd like you to address that and quit evading the question.
The purpose of public participation is to hear from the citizens. This is not to argue and debate.
I'm not arguing or debating. I'm asking a simple question.
Does that conclude your remarks?
Would either of the other trustees care to tell me how, when, and where did you receive Mr. Conover's proposal? Ms. Ayres has stated that that was delivered in person to you. Is it an unfair question for a citizen to stand here and asked you, how were you delivered that proposal? When, and was it individually or as a group? Is that an unfair question for a citizen to ask?
For the third time and final time.
I'm not asking you, Mr. Logue, I'm asking the other trustees.
You address the chair. The information regarding the hiring of the law director.
Why don't you ask the other members if
has
they'd
been
like to
made
comment
available to
then?
you via special records request and/or occurring in open public meeting. You have all of the information.
No, I have, but there is no
It is reasonable to yield the
information.
floor so our employees and viewers can move forward with the agenda.
So
Does
I
that
just want the
conclude
record
your
to show
remarks?
the absolute evasion. And Mr. Dills, if you won't comment, and Mr. Becker, you won't comment, then you're part of it. Why is it that people will sit there silently for this man or to cover up something that should not be being hidden from the citizens about how this happened and why there was, just answer the simple question, why was there no competitive bidding? Why was
Mr.
only
Hicks,
one lawyer
Mr.
bidding?
Hicks, you have generated more than 120 hours of special records
That's a lie.
requests. This township is doing phenomenal on that. Does that conclude your remarks? I have addressed it over 3 times now. We have to continue to move forward
I
with the
think, Mr.
agenda.
Logue, you've addressed nothing, and by fact of addressing nothing, it just tells me that there needs to be more inspection and more focus. One thing I think that you all could be wise to remember is that the easiest way to deal with me is actually just be transparent. Just tell the truth. Quit trying to hide things, like not even answering the simplest question, why was there no competitive bid, and how was the proposal delivered? But you've made clear, Mr. Logue, that you're going to evade any questions, and that just should tell everybody in this room that there's something going on here, that we're paying 50% more per hour than you approved in January for somebody that you went to high school with in a situation that involved no competitive bidding. But I thank you very much for confirming that there's something going on that smells here about how Mr. Conover was hired. Thank you, Mr. Logue.